So there we both were, standing outside of her hotel just after I dropped her off from an amazing brunch together, and she uttered the words, "Hey, the reason I was on Tinder was I was actually looking for someone to have sex with." Now, in that moment, I had, I guess, three options: disclose, don't disclose, or run away. And before I get to the rest of that story, I want to answer the question in today's video, which is, can you still have casual sex with herpes? Can you have these spontaneous things happen and actually have success disclosing and being intimate and having an open, honest conversation with partners so you can have these experiences? And I want to answer a couple questions as well, like how do you actually go about disclosing in a scenario like this when it's high stakes but also very abrupt? And I also want to give you the number one thing that you have to do to make sure that you have success when it comes to pursuing these casual encounters or these hookups or these spontaneous spur of the moment situations despite your diagnosis. Now, going back to what happened in the story is that we had matched on Tinder. Beautiful young lady, a little bit older than me. She was an American. We were both in Bali together. She was traveling for about a week. And we had, I think, matched the night before, and the next morning I kind of sent her a message and she said, "Oh, I'm doing some yoga this morning, but I'm fine to meet up for brunch afterwards. Are you interested?" And I said, "Sure, yeah, let's go get brunch." Because, I'm always in the mood for some food. So I take my scooter over to her yoga place, just waiting outside there because where we were going to have brunch was right next to it. She's like, "Okay, let's meet at this place." I go drive over there. I park. I get out. I'm looking around. I'm like, where is she at? Where is she at? See her walking down the street. Okay. And I go and meet her. And she's like, "Oh, Christopher, is that you?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's me." And beautiful young lady, super bubbly, super open. We are still friends to this day. We go and have brunch together. I think I was still recovering from food poisoning or Bali belly, so I went with the safe option, some scrambled eggs, sourdough. I think I had a matcha latte. I think she had a strawberry matcha latte and some sort of like smoked salmon, eggs Benedict. I don't know, but it was delicious. Having an amazing conversation together. Chatty, chatty, chatty. She asks what I do. Oh, I coach people online. Keeping it super vague because I don't just want to dump the whole herpes thing immediately in the conversation if it's not going to go there. She tells me she's a teacher, all this great stuff. She's enjoying Bali. She's going to go to a different part of Bali that day. So she has to basically go back to her hotel, pack her things up. So I say, "Hey, you want to ride back?" She says, "Sure, it's not that far." So I give her a ride back on my scooter. A little bit touchy-feely. I'm like, okay, this seems normal, right? So we get back to her hotel, and I'm not really sure why I got off my scooter and walked her inside. I think I was just trying to be nice or something. And we're walking back out of the parking garage up to basically the front of the lobby of the hotel. And she says, "Yeah, so just being honest here, the reason I was on Tinder is because I'm looking for someone to have sex with." Now, being a guy, this is not something that usually happens. Women are not usually forward, but I'm into it. I like a woman that's forward. I like a woman that's straightforward and tells me what she wants. Now, in this moment, I was walking and I kind of went silent and I was panicking. I was thinking oh no, what do I do? Now, to this day, I had never really had an experience where it was so abrupt when it comes to my need to disclose and possibly get intimate. So I basically was thinking in my head, okay, what do I do now? Do I make an excuse? Do I disclose my status and risk rejection? Do I not tell her and just move forward? And I was just walking outside and I was kind of still a little bit awkward. What do I say to her? And I say, "Well, okay, that, you're just looking to have sex. That's pretty forward and pretty." She's like, "Yeah, well, it's been a while or something, or I'm just trying to have a good time on my holiday." And I say, "Well, okay." Now, logistically speaking, she had to check out from her hotel, get her bags, and she was basically going to get a car to another part of Bali about an hour away. And she's like, "Oh, well, do you have anywhere we can go?" And I said, "Well, they're currently cleaning my room, so I think we have to wait about an hour or so, but once it's clean, we can go to my place." So everything was set up in that way. I hadn't disclosed yet. The next thing is "Oh, do you have any condoms?" is what she asked me. Because she had some, but she wanted to also ask if I had some. Yeah, I have some condoms. I think she said, oh yeah, it's always important to be safe and stuff. Like, do you have any STDs? And that was what she said to me before I even disclosed. Do you have any STDs? And this is actually part of how I want you to approach your disclosures and approach your diagnosis and approach talking about your status. I immediately shifted from this like, oh no, I'm going to have to reveal that I have an STD. Like, this is kind of shameful. Oh no. And knowing my personality, I kind of wanted to make it a little bit comical and make it a little bit sarcastic. So the way that I actually worded my disclosure was, oh, you want to know about my STD? Okay, cool. That's literally what I told her. I said, okay, you want to know about my STD? All right. Well, I have herpes actually. And I think I actually like uttered the words like, I think I have herpes actually. And that's actually what I coach people on. And then I sort of transitioned into the topic of like, hey, I actually have this thing, and you've met the one person who coaches people online. If you are looking for some help with your diagnosis, there's a 3-step process video to get you back to dating confidently in the description box, or a link to book a call with me directly and see if you're a good fit. But I basically told her like, yeah, I coach people online when it comes to herpes, getting their dating life back, getting their confidence back. And I asked her like, do you even know what that is? And she was from America, and she had sort of a rough idea like the majority of us do. And I think she had actually previously dated somebody with herpes. So that was sort of like a helpful thing because she had already had an experience. But basically what I did is I confidently told her what it was, how to keep safe, how we could manage this situation together. And basically I approached my disclosure in that moment with courage, with confidence, with having a handle on it almost to the point where I can make a joke out of it. And these are all lessons and sort of like traits that I want you to sort of apply to your own disclosure through my story. So we sort of had this like little chit chat about it. Oh, cold sores are herpes. I have it down here. This is how transmission occurs. There still could be a chance of transmission when there's no symptoms. Protection definitely helps. I've never passed it to anybody else. So the whole sort of information-based disclosure, but not from a oversharing perspective. It was like, let's see what she knows about it. Let's see what kind of questions she has. And from there, she's like, all right, well, that doesn't seem like a huge deal. You know, I appreciate your honesty. I think it's like, I think she thought it was probably an attractive thing to have someone be totally honest with you in these moments like this, when I could easily not disclose. So I took her back to my place, but first went to a cafe because we had to wait an hour. Now, we were at the cafe drinking some lattes, Scooby-Dooby-Doo, stuff like that, and she was actually pretty impatient. And to be honest, there wasn't actually much like physicality until we got back there. Once we got back there, basically, long story short, things just sort of escalated from there, and things just happened so naturally. And at the end of the day, the lesson here is that like, you still can have casual encounters, hookups, spontaneous things like this. And it was this specific moment here that really allowed me to break that limiting belief for myself. Because oftentimes we have all these questions like, well, how do I, like, am I even able to have a casual encounter now? How do you disclose? What do you do? What happens if they give you a bad reaction? And that's the next thing I want to share in this video, is that the number one tip that I can give you, and the number one thing that I did in that split second when I was disclosing my status, was completely detach from the outcome that we're going to have sex together. So this isn't a very important thing in disclosure, dating, business, your job, every single thing in life. If you can apply the power of detachment, which is essentially just being okay with an outcome, regardless of what it is, you're going to have success, and you're not going to take everything so harshly. So to break it down simply, when she told me, oh, I'm just looking for someone to have sex with, in that split second, I thought, well, she's attractive. I could have sex with her. But if I don't, if she blindly rejects me, if she runs away, if she's not interested, that's totally okay too. And it was this detachment that allowed me to be okay with whatever happens. And when you have this detachment, you no longer are convincing someone, coming off as needy, coming off as overburdening, and you realize that you're going to be okay regardless of the outcome. And that's the single biggest tip that I need you to apply in addition to your confident disclosures, in addition to having the knowledge. Because when I work with my coaching clients, the 3-step process I walk them through is knowledge and stigma, getting educated so you can educate your partners and feel confident with yourself, detaching from the stigma, someone else's opinion of you doesn't faze you, getting your confidence back and realizing you're just a simple, common human being with a common viral infection. This doesn't define you. You can use your diagnosis to improve yourself. You can use your diagnosis to connect with partners on a deeper level. And then framing those 2 steps into disclosure where it's a normal thing. You know, hey, before we get physical, let's talk about sexual health. It's important to me. I'm positive for HSV1 or HSV2. The woman I slept with in that moment, she asked me, do you have any STDs? And instead of me coming across as ashamed or trying to hide it, I was confident, I was detached from whatever the outcome is going to be, and I was able to lead her and how we can keep safe together. Now, after this event, we ended up spending a couple days together afterwards. I went back to where she was staying, went a little day trip together, had a little, 2 or 3 day vacation romance. We're still talking. She's probably going to watch this video. I'm going to share it with her. And I truly believe that this was like a fundamental moment for me to prove to myself and to prove to everybody else and go through this process to give you the tips and tricks to actually navigate. How do you have spontaneous hookups? How do you have casual sex if you're interested? How do you go about disclosing confidently in these moments? Because a lot of people probably don't disclose in moments like this. And then they have to deal with the guilt or deal with any sort of consequences. Or they ghost their partner, they run away. And I want you to know that if you can disclose confidently, if you have the knowledge, if you detach from the outcome, you can literally do anything. Oftentimes I'll get questions on social media saying like, does herpes prevent you from doing anything? Can you still have oral sex? Can you still have casual sex? Can you still even do anything in general? And the answer is, herpes itself does not prevent you from doing anything. It's your comfort level, your partner's comfort level, your confidence, and honestly, your ability to go out there and pursue what you want. Because the Chinese proverb, he who says he can, he who says he can't are both usually right. The only limitations that you put on yourself when it comes to your diagnosis are your own self-belief. So if you believe that you can't have spontaneous interactions with people, you can't. And if you believe that you can, you're going to put forth the steps to actually make it happen. So to summarize this video, the limits when it comes to herpes are self-inflicted. You can live whatever life that you want. Visualize positive scenarios, visualize positive encounters and disclosures, get educated about herpes so you can educate your partners and yourself, get your confidence back, work on your self-worth. If you do want some help with that, book a call with me down below and realize that life doesn't stop just because you have herpes. Okay? See you guys in the next video.